Welcome to the Dibbly Dobblers Cricket Podcast. As always, I am your main host, Callum, and as always, I am joined by my secondary host, director, producer, dinner lady, and whatever else you would like to add to
You've
it.
done that deliberately this week, haven't you? As always.
As always.
Yeah, you have. Cool. It was just the banter last week, wasn't it? But we'll not recycle banter. We'll come up with some original content.
Who needs original content? When the content's good, stick with it. That's what I say. Wear it out.
Yeah, something like that.
It's like a good pair of batting gloves. Keep going till there's holes in them.
Yeah.
How you doing this week, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I appear to have a bit of a puffy eye out of nowhere, which is...
You say you're not. I mean, you're having a bit of a mare of a night. I'm
I'm
impressed that Andrew's still standing.
It's 10:30. The kids are finally in bed.
Aye.
I hope. So, well...
Andrew, you'll not see it till next week's interview, but Andrew had to leave partway through one of our interviews to sort his children out. So the joys of doing podcasts and having children. But I did say you're still standing. You're still sitting, but
I'm still awake.
I'm impressed with that.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with that.
Yeah.
I mean, and you don't even drink alcohol, so I don't know how you deal with it. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so this week we have had the Women's World Cup.
We have. Before we jump into that, we'll tell the viewers what's coming up today. I think.
Well, let's tell them what's coming up.
So
Over to you, director.
yeah, so we are going to chat some England chats. We're going to chat Women's World Cup. We might chat about the men as well. It depends how our mood is when we get there.
It's not going to help your mood, is it?
It's not going to help anyone's mood. And then we have got an interview with Rory Pennycook from Perth Doo'cot Cricket Club as well, to continue our series of SPCU-based interviews.
Yep.
So as you were saying, Women's World Cup.
Well, I mean, you rudely interrupted me, but that was probably a good idea. But I'm always reluctant to tell them what we've got coming up, because then if we go, oh my God, we've been talking for 4 hours, then we can cut stuff.
Well, I've left us on out with the men's stuff. So
Right, excellent. Yeah, so the Women's World Cup, we have seen that England and Australia have progressed to the Women's World Cup final.
They have. Australia is absolutely no surprise.
Absolutely none. They have looked very comfortable throughout it. And I mean,
They've looked very comfortable for the last 4 years.
Aye, yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Looked very good. And let's be honest, going in as massive favourites to the final. But I think really the story of the World Cup is really the England women's, the Women's World Cup. But they just to be clear that we're not saying the England men's team is any good. We are talking about the women. Awful start. Lost the first 3 games.
Yeah.
Really appeared to be out of it.
Yeah.
You know,
they really did. Yeah.
You were getting the line from Heather Knight, it's not done yet. And you're like, oh, yeah, whatever, you're done. Like,
yeah. But she was right.
She was right. Egg on our face. So... so they've come back, won every game since, and got through.
And they absolutely annihilated South Africa.
Yep.
Early this morning, as we record today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it made me think about World Cup comebacks, and I certainly am struggling to remember a World Cup like.
I think they're the first side in the Women's World Cup to make the final, having lost 3 games, aren't they?
Yeah. And I'm trying to... I sometimes don't have the best memory over things like this, but I can remember games where there's been amazing comebacks in games.
Yeah.
But the comeback in the sort of tournament play is just immense.
Yeah, because they lost those first 3 games and just didn't look on it at all, and have just sort of grown into the tournament. And the last couple of performances have been mightily impressive. Yeah,
and at the end of the day, probably a few years back, you go, okay, South Africa, but South Africa are a very good women's team now.
Yes.
And you commonly see in the new women's franchise leagues that many of their players are heavily featured. So, it's not long gone are the days, for those who haven't managed to keep up with women's cricket and how it's progressed, long gone are the days when it's like England and Australia, New Zealand every now and again having a decent team as well, and then that's really it.
Yeah.
So, they've blasted past them, and they've got a chance, I think, in the final still.
Yeah, I mean, they ran Australia close in some games during the Ashes.
Yep.
They weren't consistently annihilated. They are coming into it on a high, but so are Australia coming into it on a high. They had a massive win in their semi-final as well. But you've got players who have put in big performances. You've got a couple of them have scored centuries in the last few games. You've got Sophie Ecclestone, who I think is someone we want to talk about in more detail.
Yeah.
Took her first 5-wicket haul in ODIs and took an extra one to get a nice 6-wicket haul.
Oh, why why have five? Just keep going.
Mopped up that tail. Literally let the others do the top 4. She did the rest.
All right. Well, might get onto that later with Rory in his interview, but you never know.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's look. I'm not going to try and preach on that I am the most knowledgeable person of the women's game. I'm not going to try and do that. But it's an amazing comeback. And I think really it does lead us quite well into with Sophie Ecclestone. Is you told me off air that was it Alex Hartley?
It was
tweeted out about Sophie Ecclestone having the ability to play in the men's game.
Yes.
And I had thought this a year or two ago. I remember just kind of watching her, ignoring, to be honest, the figures. It was purely just watching and going, she could bowl in men's cricket and still be very, very good.
Yeah.
And with the best one in the world to other female cricket players, I really struggle to look round and see who else truly is able to say, Elise Perry at the height of her career is probably the only other one that jumps out to me. And I am going to say this is modern era women's cricket. I don't know enough about days gone by. But in recent years...
I suppose, just to be clear, we're talking about capable of a good first-class career, capable of being an international player.
I'm to be honest, I'm just saying like a professional, in a reasonable stand, a sort of real professional league, as it were. And I mean, I don't see why Sophie Ecclestone, when you look at what I'm not going to pick on any one person at this point in the conversation, but when you look at just
at this point,
when you look at England's spin bowling stocks throughout, I actually look at like just as a core group, I don't, and given that they still for some reason insist on having 18 counties, I don't see that Sophie Ecclestone can't get, on the basis that probably each team has 2 spinners, let's say, so 36 spinners. I'm not convinced there's 36 men's spinners out there that are better than Sophie Ecclestone in England.
I'm not convinced that there's 6.
I'm definitely not convinced. Well, no, there probably was one in the West Indies for the men's tour. But
did a great job running drinks though, didn't they?
Excellent. So, I mean, Sophie Ecclestone or Jack Leach.
I mean, we are turning a little bit into a Jack Leach hate show, has to be said.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I still don't rate him.
I don't rate him.
I don't rate him at all.
Lovely. It seems like a lovely bloke.
Yeah, he absolutely does.
We're not personally attacking his personality.
Yeah.
But
and that one not out, yes, it's the greatest one not out that English cricket has ever seen.
Yeah, can we all remember that? Like, if Nathan Lyons could field,
he would have been out.
He'd have been out.
Yeah,
like
and
I
he
mean,
would have stopped it. Yeah.
Had the world's also managed to get in a situation and had the world's largest brain fart in the middle of that innings as well.
He did, yeah.
So, but that maybe let's go into more of his personality. But
but yeah, no. The point is that Leach is getting a lot of praise for his performance in the West Indies. I still do not buy it because the pitches he were bowling on, he should have done better still. He held up an end, but
I'm still
any
saying
semi-competent spinner could have held up an end on those pitches.
I'm still saying I would have had the figures that Jack Leach had.
I mean, that is a bold call.
I'm calling it, and I'm confident in that.
Yeah.
And I'm not even that good.
With test match wides, to be fair, yeah.
Leg size stumpings, man. That's what it's all about.
That's what we're here for.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
That's what
But
it's all
about. Still, Jack Leach just isn't England's. It's criminal that Matt Parkinson has been taken on another tour to run drinks, especially when the conditions were so suited to a wrist spinner.
Oh, absolutely.
Just,
I mean, yeah, it is. But, yeah, you look at Ecclestone, just to jump back to Sophie Ecclestone, you look at her bowling, and she just looks like she has that ability to take wickets.
Absolutely. She's 5'11". She bowls from quite a tall, a high place.
Yeah.
She drifts it, she turns it, she gets back. Because she's taller, she gets that bounce naturally as well. You look at, and she's bowling at the same pace as the male spinners.
Yeah, because I think, to be fair, I think that's one of the reasons why I think there are many, many good female bowlers out there. I'm not saying Sophie Ecclestone is the only good female bowler out there, but I think too often you do look at the pace of it, and the reality of it is England have been chastised for the fact that they have a bowling attack of 130 kilometres per hour.
Yes.
80 mile an hour. That would be absolutely I believe the quickest female bowler bowled 125 kilometres an hour.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't... I know some people would jump on and go, yeah, but you can't say that. They're still skillful. Yeah, they're still skillful. But so are the England bowlers who are bowling at 130, 135 kilometres. They're still skillful bowlers. Yeah. So it's not saying that they're not skillful, but they're not fast enough. Quite simply. And again, people wouldn't like me saying it, but the female batsmen, technically, fantastic, but they're not strong enough. The boundaries are brought in for female internationals and other games, and you've got to hit the six on the full pitch, and it's not trying to demean what women's cricket's doing. Women's cricket's coming on leaps and bounds, and that's fantastic. But I still think that she's genuinely the only one I've ever watched that go, get her in the ones.
Get in the ones.
And definitely get her in ahead of Jack Leach.
Yeah.
So here's just an interesting hypothetical before we jump on to hating on England's men's abysmal performance. If England's men's team came along to Sophie Ecclestone and went, we want to select you, because I know we refer to it as men and women's teams, but there isn't any rules in cricket, unless there's international rules prohibiting. I'm going to look like an idiot here, but that prohibit
certainly isn't domestically, but
women from playing alongside men. There's no there are rules the other way, but if you're Sophie Ecclestone and you got that chance, would you take? Do you think she should take the chance, or do you think she should stay in the women's game and go, no, that's where I play?
I think she would have to take the chance to make history, surely.
Well,
I think, as you say, I think that she's got the fundamentals to be able to succeed in the men's game. Whether, I don't see why she wouldn't be international quality. You know that.
I mean,
I really don't. I mean,
I would be picking her ahead of Jack Leach. I genuinely would be.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't. It's not the highest bar to defeat, but like, I would be, because I just look at her and go, I think you're offering something that he just doesn't, because Sophie Ecclestone offers something as a spinner.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, is there a degree now? Are we? Is there a danger of demeaning the women's game by saying, well, you should go and play men's cricket, or should it be given all the credibility that it's given, and actually are we demeaning the women's game by saying you could play men's cricket?
I don't think so. I think there is, within sport, there are biological advantages in being male there are. That's not controversial. That just is the case. But she has the skill set to overcome those biological advantages.
We live in 2022.
Do we?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
yes.
yeah, no, I don't think it is demeaning at all. And I think that it's something that I would love to see.
Oh, so would I. I think in recent sporting history, the person that stands out to me is, and I'm not going to get her name to it, Fallon, the female darts player.
Yes.
I want to say Michelle, but that's
it's absolutely not.
No, it's not. Anyway, let's not make an idiot of ourselves. But the profile, she went on to play Premier League darts, and Fallon Sherrick.
Yeah.
So wrong. I was thinking it was a surname. There we go.
Yeah.
And that's brought up the profile, and it's something I think for female darts players to aspire to and try and better and things like that. And I think it's the same. I think as much as I made a slight joke about 2022 and everything like that, I think really we should all be trying to compete on an equal playing field where we can.
Yes.
And if Sophie Ecclestone or any other player can do that, then I think that should be. That's where I worry. It's like men's cricket and it's women's cricket, and I think there isn't rules making it men's cricket.
Yes, absolutely agree.
So pro Sophie Ecclestone playing in the first home test of the summer because you didn't need wrist spin in England. So there we go.
Do you know?
Nah.
It's a good laugh though, isn't it?
It is, but you've got to be really good to actually be good at it, and I'm not convinced Parkinson's a lot good.
That's an interesting. I mean, I think he's the best option that England have in terms of specialist spinner at the moment.
No, we've just been through that. Sophie Ecclestone is the best.
Nah, I'm still picking Parkinson ahead of her.
Bias there. Bias. Tell you support Lancashire. It feels weird calling them that. Can't say my usual name for them. Yeah, so I suppose that takes start of the chat then about England. You've already touched on they should have played Matt Parkinson.
Yes.
For those that were choosing to hide behind the cushion, as I wish I had. Abysmal.
Horrendous, abysmal, embarrassing. Expected. Actually, yeah, expected, I think.
To be fair, even good England teams have failed in the West Indies.
Oh, absolutely. But you had it's the same faults that were exposed in Australia. So they got those two lovely flat decks, roads we would call them in the first two tests, and players made centuries. And you thought, oh, can England bat all of a sudden? And then you got a slight green top, shades of home. Something that resembled pitches that these guys have grown up playing on.
Yep.
And yeah, not like someone was coming in and bowling at 145, 150 clicks.
Yep.
It was a medium pacer, and he absolutely ripped them apart.
And I sort of have shades here thinking back to the Ashes of the destroyer in chief there, and it's not even that good. Like, I don't really know how they got destroyed by Myers.
Yeah,
I
can't understand it at all. A boy who looked like his trousers didn't fit him; they were halfway up his ankles. It's the first thing I noticed when I saw him running in, and yeah, it just thoroughly depressing to see yet again an England batting lineup blown away on a slightly tricky pitch, and mostly by shots that they should just not be playing. It's not like the bowlers were getting them out. The England batsmen, once again, were just getting themselves out.
Yeah, and I know we didn't plan on having this discussion, I don't know how far we'll go down this road, but that's one thing I would say about Joe Root, was Joe Root is as culpable as any other English batsman.
Yeah.
Getting out to the silly shot outside the off stump. Now, I understand that it's an area that gets him lots of runs. I do understand that, and I get that there are players in the past who it's a strong area, but it's also becomes a weakness as well.
Yeah.
but he's getting out playing pretty silly shots. And I think that's the one thing is, yeah, Root scored a lot of runs, but at times you're asking England to saying that the English batsmen have to take a different approach, take a different mentality, mindset, stop playing these silly shots. And I'm not actually convinced that Root is really... He's scoring runs, but he's going to score runs whether he's the captain or he's not the captain because he's Joe Root and he's just fantastic. But he's not actually leading by example with the bat. Like, in terms of mentality and going, I need to put that shot away for the time being until I'm in. Or I need to just leave the ball alone. And I just... Joe Root's last game as captain?
I would hope so, but the real problem is the complete lack of other options to replace him. And I don't know where England go with this. I don't want it to give... Ben Stokes is the obvious answer, but I just don't think that Ben Stokes should be given the captaincy. He already puts so much pressure on himself with bat and ball. He's a guy that's just had to take time out of the game to look after his own mental health. I just don't think that it would be responsible of England to ask him to be captain. Because as much as he said he doesn't want it, which is what he said because he wants to support Joe Root, if they say, right, Joe's out, do you want to be captain? He would say yes.
We've seen players like this in the past that it's the same kind of thing. Ultimately, you're offered the opportunity to captain your country. You're going to say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in cricket, it's such a different role to some other sports. I think you would... Who would turn it down?
It's akin to being a manager in another sport.
Yeah.
The captaincy position.
I mean, I know we've obviously had this discussion before on the podcast about England's captaincy and where it goes. And we sort of suggested Stuart Broad as a potential stopgap. And I think part of the reason we thought that was because he's got the experience, but he's also somebody who probably could justify a place in the team, despite the fact that England have decided to not even take him on the tour. I suppose the other person that seems to have cemented himself in that I kind of feel might be another option is Johnny Bairstow. He's somebody that I remember in years gone by he was talked about as a potential future England captain. He seems to... Now, he's not going to be a 5-year plan kind of guy again. It's maybe a bit longer than Stuart Broad is, but at least he's somebody that appears like he might actually play. Tom Abel seems to be one that's getting a bit of traction on social media.
Yep.
I just don't want to see that at all. I just don't agree with somebody with zero test experience coming in and being test captain. Test cricket and county cricket are not the same thing.
They're not, but if someone has that understanding of the game, I can't say that I've watched loads of Tom Abel. I can't tell you if he's a good captain or not.
What, you're not able to?
I'm not able to, you're right. And to be honest, I'm kind of for it because, as someone pointed out, the football and cricket captains would then be Kane and Abel. We all know how that ends.
Biblical.
Indeed. Anyway, it was bad.
I know, it's terrible. Leave the jokes to me, thanks.
But there is value in having a good captain. And if Abel has shown that he is a good captain, and there is a belief that that can be translated to the step across the step up to Test match cricket, despite him having not played at that level himself.
I'm just not sold, because I even think in captaincy, knowing how to captain in your own conditions is one thing, and then knowing how to captain in other in foreign conditions is a completely different thing. And I think that's why having the experience, and one issue that any captain is going to have coming in, potentially, particularly if Broad and Anderson have kind of been done away with. Makes sense. There's been a hit out. They were actually up in our part of the world this week playing at St Andrews. Without them, you do go around and you go, right, well, you've got Stokes, you're going to have Root, and you'd have Bairstow.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily massive amounts of experience out with that. And still, none of these guys, it's not like, you're Michael Clark and you're stepping down. You've got Ricky Ponting still in your team.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, you've got Joe Root, who hasn't done a very good job. Like, I just worry it's not the right. I get the value. We've talked about Owen Morgan and the value he adds as captain.
Yeah.
But he was also an international cricketer before he became the white ball captain.
Absolutely, yeah.
Had experience and things like that. And I am just not sold. I get there may need to be a bit of a left field pick, or just a bit of a punt taken on somebody. But
so I guess the two punts then that you maybe consider. The only other person I think whose place should be guaranteed in the side is Ben Foakes, but he doesn't have the captaincy experience. So
he doesn't strike me as a captain.
Doesn't. The other one who has played a lot of Test cricket, although isn't currently in the side, but also has the domestic captaincy experience, is Rory Burns. Now, Zach Crawley, I think your chance is gone.
Yeah,
go away. Because he once again, he scored that magnificent ton on that road. You thought, oh, Zach Crawley's back, and then, oh no, he's not. He's out driving again. Oh, and again. He hasn't learned.
No,
he looks like he's got all the shots, but he's got that dismissal every single time in him. And yeah, he might score a ton once every 18 months, but he's going to get out for 4.
I mean, I still actually can't believe that Hamid didn't play in the West Indies, personally, for me. He failed in Australia. I told you before the series started he was going to fail in Australia. And he had conditions that would have probably been perfectly fine for how he plays.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult one. And to me, you maybe have to go Stokes. Yeah, or as I say, I think Bairstow is another not silly choice, because I do worry that some of the other ones go beyond just a bit of a punt. I feel like they just become a bit ridiculous. What some of the names getting thrown out there, they're not even featuring in squads. Like, they've not even been on tours with the squads.
Yeah, like Abel and Rhodes, for example.
Like,
two shouts.
We're just starting to reek of absolute desperation to find an answer. So what we'll do, we'll bring Sophie Ecclestone in as the lead spinner and captain, because that's a better suggestion.
What about Wokes? In home conditions.
So we're going to have a home and away captain.
No, you're going to have a guy who is a non-playing captain overseas.
Opening the batting.
Well, you could. I genuinely think you could put
Chris Wokes.
You could put Chris Wokes legitimately in the middle order.
What about Sam Curran?
We're just throwing names out there now.
No, right? He's a lad. He makes things happen.
He does make things happen, and when Sam Curran is fit, for me, he plays.
And I feel like he just go and bite the opposition. Like in the ankle.
Just like a wee terrier.
Aye, absolutely. He is. That's what he is.
He is.
He's the only guy who's really short and doesn't bowl very fast, but bowls people bouncers. And when I see Sam Curran bowling a bouncer, I love it.
It's brilliant. It is.
I then start thinking I could maybe do it, and then realise I can't. But that's good. But yeah, I mean, England are back to the drawing board, or back to the same old situation of there aren't really any other feasible options, but they can't carry on with it.
No, they can't. And I think this tour has shown as well is that Paul Collingwood isn't the man to lead them either.
I think we all probably knew that, though.
What I wouldn't be surprised, there is a lot of talk that the head coach and role they're going to split, and they're going to have a white ball head coach and a red ball head coach. I would not be shocked if he's the white ball head coach.
No.
But I don't think he should be red ball head coach.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, he was a white ball captain.
Yes.
So, I mean, him being a bit better on that side of the game maybe isn't.
I mean, he was a very good Test match cricketer as well, though.
He was, and to be fair, he's probably also the guy who was in a very good team, and probably actually, if Paul Collingwood was playing in this team, he probably would be the person going, why has Paul Collingwood not been the captain? But
yes, yeah.
But I'm saying Johnny Bairstow. That's who I'm now going with. Plus Yorkshire, so that's just always a plus.
Matt Parkinson. Debut as captain
That is
again.
the only way he's getting in. No, that's why.
Sack him. Just give it Mahmood.
Desperation. Typical for you a lot.
Mark Wood, if you could stay for. You could just give it to the pace bowlers as a whole.
Just the fast
Whichever
bowler.
one of you's fit. You're the captain. It's Wood this week, then it's Archer, then it's Stone.
It's like under 15s cricket.
Yeah.
It's just like this week we're going with who's got number 1 this week? Well done, son. I mean, that can't be any worse than the current situation.
No, it can't.
Just do that. Just rotate until you find someone who can win. And then it's just on a rolling basis.
Next man up.
Aye, it's like the pool table in the pub, right?
You lose, you got the back of the queue.
You put your 50p down on the table. You're next up. That boy loses. You're in. I think that's perfectly reasonable. I mean, they could do it with the openers as well. Just why not?
Yeah.
Can Sophie Ecclestone open the batting?
Anyway, I think what we need to do is we need to throw over to our interview at this point.
Well, the hilarity's ensued, so
Indeed.
hopefully Rory can bring some sensibleness to the conversation.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, we have got an interview with Rory Pennycook from Perth Doo'cot Cricket Club. So, over to that. We're joined by Rory Pennycook, club captain at Perth Doo'cot Cricket Club. Rory, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are the both of you?
Yeah,
doing
doing good.
grand.
Doing good. Someone close to home for us. It's good.
Indeed, yeah.
It's closer than need be, but there you go.
I know. We know all your deep dark secrets, Rory.
Yeah. Right, so I suppose good place to start, Perth Doo'cot. What sort of place is the club in after the last sort of testing couple of years that we've had?
I think we are in a very fortunate position in that we're actually, I would probably say, stronger than we were about 2 years ago. I think we've got the funding for it. We've got a good. I think our numbers have improved. We've got maybe juniors has dropped a bit, but I think it's still very strong. So I think we are in a really good position all round. A lot more people get involved in the club. I think through the boredom of the 2 lockdowns, which is good for us. We're not going to complain. So a lot more people getting involved in the committee side, on the coaching side, and the playing side, which is really good. So yeah, I think we're in a really strong position, which is always good to see in Scottish cricket, because I think Scottish cricket isn't always the strongest, but I think we are in a really strong position as we come into the start of the season.
Good. Yeah. I think. I suppose we spoke to Meagle last week, and I suppose they'd said a few guys maybe thought, well, we can't play anything else, so actually we can play cricket. So it's maybe had a few guys come back into the game and things like that.
I think so. I think we've had a couple that maybe are on the periphery that are thinking about giving up, that have just committed that little bit longer and are still playing. And you've got, like you say, the people that hadn't really done anything for a while have kind of come in and start playing again, which is always really good to see. I think I think we've just, through the boredom and through cricket being their only sport, a lot of people have just come into it, which is brilliant, because it gives us more bodies on a Saturday and more bodies to help out. So yeah,
definitely. So in terms of sort of the wider club, what's going on at the moment at Perth Doo'cot?
Plenty. I think we've got, like I was saying earlier, I think we've got a really good junior section, which is really exciting. You know, you've got age groups all the way up that are doing really well and doing well in Scottish Cups last year, and hopefully again this year. We've got three weekend teams that looks like they're going from strength to strength, and hopefully get better again this season. And you know, a really good women's section that started up, I think maybe last year, the season before, that's only getting stronger as well, and it's going really well as well. So I don't think there's much looking down at the moment, which is always good.
So on your Twitter, you guys have the younger sections got four Scottish Cup ties, I think, and your ladies have been, was it Dunblane? I think they were playing the other week. So it's good to see these things.
Dunblane an indoor match, yeah. And I think they've got a lot more. Women have got a lot more planned, and then Scottish Cup draw was done last week, so all the junior teams have their draws, and looks like they're winnable games, and hopefully get to the later stages again, which we can't complain about.
Throwing it out there early, like on the
Oh,
march.
we're winning it. We're winning it all 3 age groups.
It's 4 entries this year, is it not?
Is it 4? There you go. All 4 age groups.
Is it not like there's the Scottish Cup is 1 year different to like because there's like the ECB Cup and then there's the
I think there's
the
13s,
Scottish Cup.
14s, 15s,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
16s, and
Yeah.
2 of them are Scottish and 2 of them are ECB. I also saw that your Social Sixes tournament is back again this summer after a couple of years off.
Looking forward to it. I think me and Callum have history in that tournament, so I
was
think
gonna say, am I
he's going to have to put a team in again. So
still banned? Or
we'll talk about that. Next question.
Yeah.
Definitely just avoid that conversation.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
People on YouTube think I'm nice, so come on, we'll keep it that way.
No, the Social Six is always a good day as well. It's always a good fundraiser, and it's always a good day. So looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, and the trophy's still sat in my wardrobe, so I guess I'll have to return that to the club at some point, won't I?
Wow.
He's lying. It's on his mantelpiece. It's lit up on his mantelpiece.
We don't have a telly. Don't have a telly. Just have the Sixes tournament.
Pride of place, quite right.
Yeah. You going to jump in with a question, or am I going to do it all tonight?
I'll do the talking, mate.
You do the talking, right? Okay. So, what are the club's ambitions for the season ahead? What are you hoping to achieve?
I think it's going to sound boring, but I think we have to be looking to do as well as we can, and if that means winning the league, then I'm fine by me. But no, I think
shocking
I think we've recruited really well over the summer. I think we've got Usman back as a coach, so he'll play talks with overseas amateurs. Hopefully, we've got another boy, Baba from Pakistan, who's a first class player back in Pakistan, who's come over to study. So worked out really well, in that we've got him coming in for us, and I think I always say it, but I think we've got one of the strongest bowling attacks in the league. And I think our weakness has always been a batting. So to get potentially 3 batters in and have them in and have a solid bowling attack, I really do think we've got a good chance this season. So I think we need to aim as high as we can, do well in the Scottish Cup, win the league, and I think if less happens, then less happens. But I think we need to aim for the best this season.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. Aim high and see where you can get to. Man.
I think we've got a strong twos team as well. Like obviously won the league last year, so hopefully they can maintain that, and then plenty of young bodies in the Sunday team, and it'll be happy days.
Yeah.
So.
And obviously, last year was your sort of first year of captaincy. Well, I think technically your second, but first full season.
First proper year, yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose from that point of view, how did you, on a sort of personal note to yourself, but how did you kind of find that, like doing that?
Tough. I don't think I realised how much time it would take up out of like something. I work a full-time job, and then probably at the cricket club five nights a week. If you include a Saturday, kind of 5 days a week, I'm at the cricket club. I think it was a big learning curve. I think I've probably not captained since I was about 14, 15, kind of underage stuff. So I think it was just getting back in the swing of things, and I don't think I did a perfect job, but then I don't think I did a bad job either. So hopefully I'll take a lot of learnings from last season, a lot of things I can take on board, a lot of things I think I did well that I can work on, and yeah, I think look, this season can only go better after last season. I think unfortunately we didn't have a great season last season, but I think we had a young squad, a relatively new squad to what we're used to. So I think if we can build on that from last season, I'll be more than happy.
So you're not trying to pass it the buck to anyone else. Then you're happy to carry on.
I'll pass it to Cash, but he wouldn't take it. So oh well.
Yeah. Right. So predictions for the year ahead. Who do you think is going to be your? We'll go highest run scorer first.
Usman is excluded from that conversation. There's absolutely no point in including pros in these conversations.
No, probably not, because Usman's the right answer. I think the Baba that I was talking about that's coming across from Pakistan, he was, well, I wasn't at Nets on Monday. I've had the COVID, as you know, but apparently from what I've heard, he looked like a really good player and looked like he hits the ball hard. So I'm expecting big things from him. I think, like I say, batting wise, we struggle. I think you look at players like Cash and Tass are probably your two kind of anchors in the mid order that are still there from last year. That I think I'm expecting big things from Tass this year. I think Tass is he's come on leaps and bounds. He looks like he's playing a bit better in the nets. I think we've always had a problem with Tass playing a bit expansively, as I'm sure you two are well aware of. But he looks like he's kind of screwed the nut a bit, got a bit of a better temperament. So I'm expecting big things from him this season. Hopefully,
he's also getting involved in coaching as well, isn't he? So maybe giving himself that more rounded perspective.
I think a bit more maturity and a bit of a better head on his shoulders this season. Hopefully, we'll get the best out of him. So looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Certainly, plenty of talent in there. So I think, to be fair, and that isn't just to Tass. I think actually in the club, but I don't think batting talent has always been the problem. I suppose maybe just batting application has perhaps been the bigger issue.
Batting application. I think that's again maybe something I can try and work on in my captaincy skills and get that out of somebody. But if I can get out of one batsman this season, it'd be great. But we'll see what happens from there.
You'll be hoping for less time in the middle this year, no doubt.
I spent way too much time. I'm at number 11 who had to come in at number 6 half the time. So a lot less time in the middle for me. Yeah.
What about wicket taker? You backing yourself? You're going to be the highest wicket taker this year?
Always back myself. No, I think I do. Like I was saying earlier, I do think we've got a really good bowling attack. And I think if you look at our bowling attack this season, you've got young Ollie, who's I think he had a brilliant season last season. First season, the ones at 16, and he took 17 wickets in the league. I think that's absolutely brilliant for somebody like Ollie. So I'm expecting big things from him. I think if we can get him up to the 20-30 wicket mark on par with his dad, then that'll be brilliant. I think Ollie. I think Ivor, like I mentioned as well. I think you can't look past Ivor. Unfortunately, as annoying as it is, he seems to. No, not in that sense, but I think he's always. I don't think I've ever had more wickets in a season than Ivor, and it does my head in. As much as I think I love Ivor and I think he's a brilliant bowler, he just can't get more wickets than him. So I think you've got to back him as well. So
I think, to be fair, that applies probably to most bowlers in the league, and even the very good ones. I don't think many take more than Ivor.
No, that's it. I don't think anyone ever will take any more than Ivor, to be honest. But you got the two Pattersons; they'll be our spearheads. So backing them, back myself over them, of course. But got to concede defeat sometimes.
Just get yourself back on and mop up the tail. I seem to remember as a youngster, Ivor was a little bit prone to doing that himself.
I'd never do that. It's a good tactic, though.
And who is your sort of player to watch this season? Have you got any of the youngsters coming through that you're expecting big things from? I know you've already touched on Tass, but anyone else?
And Ollie, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think Tass and Ollie are two main ones. I think what's Tass now? Tass will be about 21 now, which is scary.
Yeah.
And Ollie's 17 this season, so I'm, let's say, expecting big things from there. I think they'll both. I think Ollie had a breakout season last season, but I think we're still waiting for that for Tass. So I think Tass will be a good one. I think Daniel Patterson as well. I think he had a really good season in the twos last season. I think he was top wicket taker in the league.
Yeah, he was.
So kind of expecting big things from him as well. Hopefully he'll get his. I think we do have a strong bowling lineup, but I think there's definitely a chance for somebody like Daniel to come in, and if he comes in and takes a fifer, then there's not much we can do other than put him in the next week. So again, Daniel, Ollie, and Tass are a three that I really think can push on and have a really good season this season.
Yeah, because that's good to hear though that you've got somebody sitting in the twos. Because let's be honest, a lot of clubs don't have that. They don't necessarily actually have competition pushing against it. And I suppose you said the twos did well last year, winning the league. So I suppose from the club's point of view, that's a very healthy position to be in.
I think so. I think like I say, we've got. Certainly in the batting department, there's a lot of people who can come in now, because I think we've recruited 3 or 4, and I think that's where we've struggled previously. So it's something to look at. And there, I think bowling-wise, though, I think if you look at our seamers and the ones, you've got myself, and you've got Ivor, you've got Ollie, you've got Jack Emsley, you've got Daniel, you've got
Kayam
Moose. I forgot about them as well. You know what I mean? Like 5 rattled off the top of my head, and I forget about bowlers like Kayam and Moose. And then you've got spinning wise, you've got Motion, you've got Usman, you've got Tash, you've got Cash. We've options. We could literally put out a team of 11 bowlers. So I think we've got options all over the pitch, bowling wise and batting wise. So it's really exciting. I think, like you say, twos doing so well last season. There's plenty of space for them to push into the ones, and hopefully hopefully we'll have a strong season as possible. Hopefully we'll have a settled 11, but like you say, competition for places is never a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I suppose your batting tracks are only likely to get better as well. New groundsman last year.
New groundsman, yeah. I think as you both have seen last season, I think they were coming on last season, and I think with a winter behind Greg, I think it's exciting to see what he can do, because I do think a good pitch at Doo'cot is gonna attract players. It's gonna make it a much better. I think Doo'cot's a great place to play cricket anyway, but with a good track, I think it's going to be one of the best places. I do think it's one of the best places to play cricket in Scotland, but I think with a good track, it's only going to get better. And it's, like you say, it's exciting because I think we've struggled at batting for a while, especially at home. And if we can get good tracks and get some big scores, then I think it's exciting times. I think Greg's really good at what he does. So fingers crossed he can get some good tracks this year and we'll get some runs.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as long as he leaves a bit in it for the bowlers as well.
No, it's just going to create roads. It'll be fine.
I don't take any wickets at home anyway, so it'll be fine.
And what about away from home? Do you take? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't take wickets. What are they?
That's why you went in for the captaincy. You're like, that's the way to secure my place in the team. Excellent.
No one else was doing it. Secure my place in the team.
Exactly.
Can't beat it.
Great tactics. Well, I think that's we've kind of touched on what's going on. So it looks like you've got an exciting season ahead, Rory, and obviously, and across the board, not just the first team, everyone else as well.
Absolutely.
So I think really, from ourselves, we'll kind of wish you guys the best of luck, and hopefully maybe touch base with you again during the season, see how things are going. Hopefully you're up at the top, not down the bottom, or we'll have to remind you about the conversation that we had. But
I'll deny it. Don't care about
that's going to get clipped and put straight on Twitter.
Oh, absolutely. Going to win the league.
Didn't happen. Don't know who thought about it.
It's one of those deep fakes.
Good CGI you've got here. That's good.
Andrew's skills are mental.
I've heard.
Oh dear.
I mean, his cricket ones aren't, but that's...
Behave.
Oh, we aren't going to comment on that. I was strictly told not to say that.
Cheers, guys.
Sorry, truth hurts.
It does. It really does. You're right. Anyway, yes. All the best for the season ahead, Rory. And thank you very much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it. And as Callum says, we'll hopefully speak to you again as the season progresses.
Not at all. Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers. And thanks again to Rory for coming on and joining us on the podcast. And we're going to hear about social media, which I don't care about. Andrew, what's it all about?
You don't care about, right? Okay. That's really great for the
Sorry, I really care. I absolutely love social media. You'll never find me active on it, but crack on.
So please do like, share, and subscribe on the YouTube channel, and catch us on Twitter at DibDobPod. Let us know your thoughts on the England women's team, the England men's team, and cricket in the SPCU region as well. Thanks again for watching or listening, whatever you're doing, and we will speak to you again next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.